the beginning, right? Here we go. The title of this scope, well, the previous scope, is Are You Afraid of Your Fear? Are you afraid of fear? Right? So let's go. The dynamics of the ego. No one can escape from illusions unless he looks at them. For not looking is the way they are protected. Let me just stop there. No one can escape from illusions, and from A Course in Miracles point of view, there are only really two things. There is love is the only thing that's real, and everything that is a manifestation of fear and craziness or whatever is illusion. Anything that's not of love, from A Course in Miracles point of view, is an illusion. So, let me read that again. No one can escape from illusions unless he looks at them, for not looking is the way they are protected. So, the more you are afraid of your fear, and you don't look at your fear and you pretend it's not there, you don't look at your guilt, you pretend it's not there, you don't look at your judgments and pretend it's not there, that's how you keep it protected. So what you resist persists. So if you go, I'm not going to look at that, I'm not going to look at how I hate myself, I'm not going to look at how I want the world to change, I'm not going to look how I need people to be different, the more that you do that, it keeps it alive. It keeps it alive. Make sense? I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. There is no need to shrink. Now this is really important. There's no need to shrink from illusions, for they cannot be dangerous. They cannot be dangerous. We are ready to look more closely at the ego's thought system, because together we have the lamp that will dispel it, and since you realize you do not want it, you must be ready. Like the monster under the bed. Perfect analogy. So, this is the story of life. This is the hero's journey. This is what so many, most of the novels, the literature, the movies really is about facing your fears. Facing your fears. And when you face your fears, then you, and only then, can you ever really deal with them. Hello, Kristen. Okay? Let us be very calm in doing this. For we are merely looking for honesty, honestly for the truth. The dynamics of the ego will be our lesson for a while, for we must look first at this to see beyond it. Since you have made it real, we will undo this error quietly together, and then look beyond it to the truth. Everyone take a big deep breath. So what he's saying here is, if you don't look at your ego and all of the craziness that your ego is creating in your life, then you're going to stay stuck. Then you're going to stay stuck. I never left, Jamil. I never left. Okay. So funny. All these people are saying to me, I want to say this really quickly. I went to a Periscope meetup last night. It was great. People are like, where are you? I haven't seen you. I haven't seen you. Where are you? I've been here. Okay, here we go. I'm going to move on to, let's go over here. Okay. I don't know why, Jamil. Maybe you have to make sure the notifications are on. Sometimes you have to, let me just pause here. Sometimes you have to unfollow and then follow. Sometimes you have to unfollow, then follow. Kristen, thank you for the super hearts. I really appreciate it. So try that and see what happens. Okay? All right, here we go. We're going to move on to the third paragraph. Okay. I had it to do today. I don't know. You're welcome to. Okay. I don't know what that means. You gotta go to work. Okay. See ya. Let's move on. This this is the line why I titled this scope, Are You Afraid of Your Fear? Do not be afraid, then, to look upon fear, for it cannot be seen. Clarity undoes confusion by definition, and to look upon darkness through light must dispel it. Don't be afraid to look at your fear. You know what's afraid to look at your fear? And this is big when it comes to the ego. Your ego is afraid to look at your fear because your ego, and the ego is the part of you that thinks without love, your ego wants to make sure you don't look at that fear. Your ego wants to make sure you never, ever, ever approach your problems. Your ego wants to make sure that you don't ever do any of that. Because what will happen to the ego when you look at your problems, it will go away. The ego will have to take a second seat. Now I want to say this very clearly. In our world, in your life, in my life, what is the prevailing thought system is the thought system of the ego. So the ego is constantly going to try to make you go, don't look over there, don't look over there. Does that make sense, everybody? Make sense? Okay? So, make sense? Okay. Thank you for those. Damn ego. I know. It's okay. Let us begin with the lessons of ego dynamics by understanding that the term itself doesn't even mean anything. It contains the very contradiction in terms that makes it meaningless. Dynamics implies the power to do something, and the whole separation fallacy lies in the belief that the ego has power to do anything. The ego is fearful to you because you believe this. Yet the truth is very simple. The truth is very simple. All power is the power of God. What is not of him has no power to do anything. What is not of him has no power to do anything. It is on page 203. 203. Okay? So, I'm going to read this again. It's so important. So, what happens for all of us is that, hi Johnny, good to see you. What happens is that we are giving power to our fears. We're giving power to all of our judgments. We're giving power to the world. We're giving power to our bank account. We're giving power to what's happening in the world stage. And that's not where any power is. So what he says right here is that we're kind of, hi Scarlett, what we're doing is we're forgetting that I will come back to this over and over and over again. It is exactly like The Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz is one of the greatest stories of our time ever told to remind us that we are all Dorothy and that we just forgot and we knew we had the power within. The whole time. But on the journey, you're too funny. On the journey, we have to be like, oh, those characters all represent some fear. I don't have courage. I don't have the heart. I'm not smart enough, right? So I have to follow this yellow brick road, and the road, Oz is the world of illusion. Oz is the world of illusion. She goes to sleep and she wakes up in a dream, right? She thinks it's all real. She thinks, oh my God, now I've got to get back home. I got to get home. I got to find a way home. Right, so she goes, and they say, do this, get your hair done, dye your this, do this. When you think about it, it's so perfect. Then they're like, go talk to Wizard of Oz, go to Oz. And then when she finally gets to Oz, what is Oz? A fake. And what's Oz? Oz is a fake. So, and do you know what Toto represents? You know who Toto is? Toto is her spirit. Toto never leaves her side. Toto never leaves her side. And who is the character that pulls the curtain away? Toto. Yeah. So Toto pulls the curtain, and then all of a sudden, there's just a man behind there going, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just a foul," right? And if you watch now that you know this, and it's very interesting that I haven't said this on the scope before, but I thank you so much for all those super hearts. We love Toto. We love Toto because Toto is what you come. Toto comes. Listen, Toto comes from the other world into this world because Spirit, God, is in everything, right? It is in everything. So, when you think about that, what happens is, you're Dorothy, I'm Dorothy, and finally at the end, there is the Holy Spirit that comes to tell her. And who's the Holy Spirit? Glinda. And Glinda says, "My dear, my dear, you always had it within you. All you had to do was look down and say, 'I wish I was home.'" That's it. And Toto's going, if Toto had a voice, Toto'd be like, "I told you the whole time. I've been sitting here telling you the whole time, but I'm not going to push you." Toto is the perfect analogy, right? The dog is going to always be with you, but it's never going to push you to do something you don't want to do. That is Spirit. That is God, right? So, Toto is just like going, yeah, that lady in the bubble, she's been saying what I'm saying, but I'm not going to force you to do anything, right? I'm not going to force you to do anything. That's because our greatest power is our power of choice. So, Toto's just going to be there, right? Everyone take a big deep breath. Listen. Right, Jacqueline. You listen. But if you can't listen, at some point, there's going to be a Glinda that's going to fall into your life and go, boom! And this is your Glinda. This is the Glinda. For some people. Some people it's different. You don't need this book, but it's like Glinda is speaking through this book because Glinda is the representation of the bridge between spirit and the illusion world, right? So, that's what this is trying to do. You are Glinda, right? No. No. If you're a Course in Miracles follower, or, this is not a religion, student, then Jesus would be your Glinda, right? Because Jesus is like, hey, I did it. This is what you do. This is how you do it. Johnny, no. If you don't know, this is called A Course in Miracles. A Course in Miracles is a spiritual mind training, right? So, I do have a book, though. Spiritual mind training, right? Okay. So, hopefully, I think that everyone relates that analogy. I will, definitely, Catherine. And thank you for saying that. I just put a scope up, okay, on YouTube. All right, so let me say this once again because it bears repeating. All power is of God. What is not of Him... No, it's okay, Johnny. This is definitely not mine. What is not of Him has no power to do anything. Right? So the only thing that is from God, source, is love, is peace, is of joy. Okay? So, let's look at what the ego is, and then we're going to kind of wrap up. I am mad. I'm a mad scientist. Okay, here we go. The ego's goal is quite explicitly ego autonomy. From the beginning, then, its purpose is to be separate, sufficient unto itself, and independent of any power except its own. This is why it is the symbol of the separation. So the ego is the symbol of the separation. Now let's go back really quickly. The separation is, and the separation never really happened, is when we decided we could do it without God. That's all you need to know. So the ego is the symbol of this separation, that we can do anything without love. That we can, and if you have the problem with the word God, which I don't know why you would, but if you have a problem with that, I know people do, just use love. When we separated from our source, which is love, when we separated from our source, which is love, the ego was the answer to that separation. And so what the ego does, it says, oh, I'm fine on my own. I don't need anyone's help. Everything's fine. I can create on my own. I can do everything alone. I can find my way on my own. And that is what the ego will keep telling you to do. The ego will tell you, don't be afraid. Be very afraid of all the, the forest. Let's come back to that. The forest and the monkeys and the wicked witch in the Wizard of Oz is the symbol of what the ego is. Because the ego is going, oh no, you have to be fearful, you got to run, you have to run, you have to run, you have to find your way, you have to find your way. And in truth, if Dorothy would just stop and sit there, probably Glinda would be like, oh, okay, come back. Instead of going, I got to search, I got to search, I got to search. Because what the ego's edict is seek, but do not find. And reflect that back into your life, everyone. There is a part of you, there is a part of me that keeps going, it's not good enough. You're not good enough. You need more money. You need more peace. You need more love. You need more. 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 If you're honest with yourself, right in this moment, you go, there is that voice. You need more knowledge. You need more education. You need to be prettier. You need to get it together. Whatever. The part one of this is nothing. So, okay? It's hitting you in the heart. Isn't that the truth? And I'm telling you, this work that I teach you is all about going, aha, there's that voice. There it is. And is it the truth? Is it the truth? Right? The ego's goal quite explicitly ego autonomy. From the beginning, then, its purpose is to be separate, sufficient unto itself, and independent of any power except its own. That is why it is the symbol of separation. So let's keep going. Every idea has a purpose, and its purpose is always the neutral outcome of what is. Everything that stems from the ego is the natural outcome of its central belief. And the way to undo its results is merely to recognize that their source is not natural. The natural outcome is not natural, being out of accordance with your true nature. I'm going to say that again. There's a lot in this section. So let me your true nature is love. Your true nature is God. Your true nature is peace. Your true nature is joy. Your true nature is happiness. That is who you are, because that is the only thing that's real from the Course in Miracles point of view. So let me just read this. Every idea has a purpose, and its purpose is always the natural outcome of what it is. Now listen to this. Everything that stems from the ego is the natural outcome of this central belief. And the way to undo its results is merely to recognize that their source is not natural, being out of accord with your true nature. I said before that to will contrary to God is wishful thinking and not real willing. To will, listen to that. I love that. That's so good, right? I said before that to will, contrary to God, is wishful thinking. And it's not real willing. His will, love's will, is one because the extension of his will cannot be unlike itself. The real conflict you experience then, now listen to this, the real conflict that you experience then is between the ego's idle wishes and the will of God, which you share. Can this be a real conflict? Let me say this again. The real conflict you experience then is between the ego's idle wishes and the will of God. And you share the will of God. You don't share the will of the ego because listen, here's the deal. The ego is not even real. But our life is literally being run by this part of ourselves, which we all have, that keeps us consistently and always searching. And you don't need to search. You just need to stop and look at how completely, totally different your truth is compared to what you believe of fear. And until we can look at our fear for what it is, until we can look at our anger for what it is, until we can look at our self-loathing for what it is, until we can look at our depression for what it is, we will never be free. Because that self-loathing, that depression, that anger will run our lives. Because you keep going, pushing it down. And the more that what you, as the Course in Miracles would say, you create what you defend against. So if you're afraid of feeling fear, that fear will run your life. If you are afraid of your depression, that depression will run your life. If you are afraid of connection with other people, it will run your life. But that is not who you are. That is not your natural state. Your natural state is love. Your natural state is peace. So today, I want you to think about this. And I want you to think about, you don't need to keep going down the yellow brick road. You can listen to Toto, because Toto will always lead you back. Take a big deep breath. Let's say a prayer. Close our eyes. Dear Mother, Father, God, Divine Source, Universe, we are so appreciative of being able to know the truth. We're so appreciative of being able to look beyond the craziness of our ego. We are so appreciative of being able to remind ourselves of what is real and what is illusion. And so we walk into this day a little stronger, a little bit more self-aware, a little more compassionate for ourselves, for the world, and others. And we also walk into the world more courageous and brave, because we know our natural state is peace, our natural state is love, and nothing of this world can ever destroy that, take that away. And we are more in line with that natural state of love and peace and light today, so that we can have that courage to face our fears, to face our guilts, to face our sacrifices. And we know that as we do this, we become our true selves, which is light and love. And in that way, we are seeing the light and love in our brothers and sisters in the world. So we take a big deep breath. And together we say thank you very much. And so it is.